Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is the last chance for some teams to get where they want to go. All the questions that have been asked throughout the entire season will be answered in this round. Who's playing finals footy? Who's going to get the wooden spoon? Who is going to have the most overachieving season and the most underwhelming season? All of that and more right here in this very video. Round 18, the final round of the AFL. Let's get this started. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about AFL Round 18, the final round to talk about in this season as we are heading towards finals footy. The best of the best are going to collide very, very soon, so get excited as we're about to see high quality of football, and let's see exactly what this season will have to offer us towards the end. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below if your team has a chance to make the top 8. Will they make it? My team, the Melbourne Demons, do have a chance to make the top 8. I don't know if we'll make it, but yet again, that is very interesting and very dependent on what other teams can do in this round. Before we go into round 18, I do want to quickly talk about round 17, the previous rounds of the AFL. As I did make a predictions video for round 17, I want to give the results of those predictions. I've gotten 4 out of the 9 games I believe wrong, which is, I think it's been the highest I've gotten wrong. I got the St Kilda and West Coast game incorrect, the Geelong and Richmond game incorrect, the Melbourne and GWS game was incorrect, and the Adelaide and Carlton game was incorrect. So overall, my season's predictions will be presented here. It's still not bad. Of course, it would be much better if I didn't get 4 wrong this round, but of course, very surprising outcomes and a lot of great games ended up taking me over the edge and actually getting me my highest loss record of the round. Funnily enough, it happened towards the end of the season. I did not expect that at all. But yet again, we are moving on to round 18. Before we do that as well, I want to give my winners and losers of that round, of the round 17. The winners of the round are the Collingwood Magpies, who in a very tough situation against a fighting Gold Coast team have managed to secure their place in the top 8. Very good job for them. They've had a very, very tremendous season despite having all those injuries, so up and down. Their club has been in turmoil. Their club has been disgraced by some of their players, but also they've managed to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and give them a chance, a fighting chance as well, to get into a premiership contention and maybe potentially win the flag. In my opinion, they are the definite winners of the week. The losers of the week, in my opinion, are going to be Essendon after a very poor performance against Port Adelaide. And again, they were a team that really had a glimmer of hope towards the start of the season. Just all came crashing down for them, and they've not seemed to recover in any way, stretch or form to actually give themselves a chance in this series. And in the end, they are now out of the top 8 race. I think a lot of people expected better from them, and in the end, it didn't turn out that way. It sucks to see, but they are definitely the losers of the round and the losers of the week of the AFL Round 17. Let's finally go into the Round 18 predictions. The first game we've got is the West Coast Eagles versus North Melbourne. Fairly straightforward for me, this one. I'm definitely going for the West Coast Eagles. I do think this game is important for the West Coast Eagles because I do think they can move up in the ladder. And if they do, it obviously gives them a good chance to actually play home football for them. So it's going to be very interesting. I definitely think they do need this game. They do need to win. North Melbourne are not a great side. They've been poor for a long time now, for at least a month. All 4 games that they've played, they've been dreadful. And I do see this continuing here with the West Coast Eagles. Devastating loss to Fremantle, North Melbourne had. And I just see this being a situation where I don't know if there's a way back for them this season. They're not going to end it on a strong note. Next up, we've got St Kilda versus the GWS Giants. This game is an absolute must for the GWS Giants to win in order to give them a chance to get into the top 8. After a loss to Melbourne last week, they definitely need this game to actually give them that fighting chance like Melbourne do now, because obviously that win. So GWS need to win this game, otherwise they will fall out of the contention of the top 8. However, St Kilda also need to win this game because they are at a risk of falling out of the top 8. And in my opinion, that is something that St Kilda fans who have been waiting for this moment for a while now. Their team is good enough to actually compete. They need this, and if St Kilda do lose and they do fall out, and they have to lose by a significant amount to be fair, it's not lose by 6 and they're out. They have to lose by at least 5 goals. If they do lose, that's going to be very, very tough for that team that fought their way all the way to get into that position, and it will suck for them. I don't see them losing, however. I do see the GWS Giants falling here, and yet an underwhelming season will continue to get worse for them, as I do pick St Kilda in this game. Overall, no matter what you could say about the GWS Giants, whether they make the finals or not, this has been an extremely underwhelming season for them, and I will reflect that in a future video. I will talk about the Giants. I'll talk about every team. But of course, St Kilda, in my opinion, are the favourites and the comfortable favourites, in my opinion, to win this game. Of course, anything can happen in high-pressure situations. This is a clear must-win game for both sides, and that's why I think this is going to be extremely fun to watch. I'm definitely going to be watching this game, have my eyes on it. Next up, we've got Essendon versus the Melbourne Demons. This one is fairly straightforward for me. Essendon have nothing to play for, and they've been very poor the past month. Melbourne have everything to play for and now desperate to win, and win by a large amount as well, just in case there is a chance that St Kilda do lose. Melbourne need to win at all costs, and they need to win comfortably. They need to win by more than 8 goals, I believe, just to give them a high percentage if St Kilda do lose. It's a very tough predicament that Melbourne have put themselves in. They could have easily got top 8 back 3 weeks ago, but they lost to the likes of Sydney and Fremantle, and it kind of stunted their progression. But there's still a chance there, and I do think Melbourne will win this game. Of course, as a Melbourne fan, I'm praying that everything goes our way, but I kind of already know that Melbourne did this to themselves, and if we do not make the 8, then we have no one else to blame but ourselves. But of course, with still a fighting chance, it's important to be positive, because anything can happen in these games, especially when you have the Bulldogs and Fremantle battling each other, which will be very interesting to see. Of course, in the end, Melbourne have to win their game to get the job done. If they lose this game, they're automatically out. So I do think they will win this game, and I do think they have no choice but to win this game and just hope for the best with other matchups around them. Next up, we've got Adelaide versus the Richmond Tigers. I have backed the Richmond Tigers in this game. Again, Adelaide have been on an incredible roll, and if they beat Richmond, it's just the icing on the cake towards a actually good season compared to the level that we all thought of them not even a month ago. They've actually won consecutive games in a row. They've done extremely well to perform at the highest level. They beat Hawthorn, they beat the Giants, and they beat Carlton. Very good teams in there with the Giants and Carlton. They were both fighting for the 8th position, and in the end, they beat them. So their rebuild is at a very good level, in my opinion, and I do think that I will be reflecting that in my reflections video later on, so stay tuned for that. I still think the Tigers will win. This game will be important to the Tigers just as much as it is for Adelaide to finish off the season well. Richmond would want to finish off the season well as well and get that finals footy rolling. Next up, we've got Carlton and the Brisbane Lions. Now, I do think that Brisbane will comfortably win this game. Again, Carlton have had a pretty poor performance against the Adelaide Crows, and that's going to hurt their confidence. Of course, they're a young team. They're going to be a confidence-based team. And I do think if they do win this game, they will end their season fairly well, and that could give them momentum towards the next season. However, Brisbane are a team that are fighting for their lives as well in terms of the top 4 positioning. I do think they will comfortably get second. I'm not sure if they will get first. Regardless of where they are on the ladder, they've been a tremendous team this season. And even when they don't play well, they end up getting the results that they need. So that is a remark of a fantastic team. So I do think the Lions will win this, whether they play well or not. And I just want to say Carlton have had a good season. That's all I'm going to say, man. Compared to what people have expected from them, they've had a very good season. I do think they should be proud of themselves. Next up, we've got Hawthorn and the Gold Coast Suns. This game is a little bit tougher to predict because they're both at the lower levels of the AFL at the moment. I do think Gold Coast will win this game. However, Hawthorn have just been absolutely dreadful for a long time now, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. They have done tremendously bad for where they were expected to be. I remember at the start of the season, people were saying that Hawthorn would make the top 4, would sneak into the 8. All of these assumptions of how good Hawthorn could be, and they've just not lived up to any of them. They have been piss poor for a long time now, and I do think Gold Coast have a better team at this current time in their form, and I do think Gold Coast will win this game. Next up, we've got Sydney and Geelong. Obviously, I will back Geelong here. Sydney, to be fair, have had a good couple of weeks. They've had their ups and downs throughout the entire season. They have beaten good teams, and they've also been thrashed by a lot of bad teams as well. So in the end, Sydney is a very indecisive one for me to rank, but of course, versus the Geelong Cats, absolutely not. I do not see that happening. I do not see them winning, but of course, they've proven me wrong before, and they can do it again. I will back Geelong. They are the comfortable favourites. They have to win as well for ladder supremacy, if they do need it. I'm not actually sure if they need the ladder supremacy or not. They are comfortably in the 8, and let's see where they go from there. I'm sure they would like to keep their double chance, and I do think they will regardless of the result. Next one is extremely interesting because we've got the Fremantle Dockers versus the Western Bulldogs. This game could absolutely determine where the rankings are for a lot of teams. If the Western Bulldogs lose this game, they're going to have to rely on the Giants and Melbourne to lose their games to keep their spot within the top 8. So in the end, the Western Bulldogs, this is a must-win game. If they win this game, they're guaranteed a spot in the 8. This has to be a must-win game for them. Fremantle, on the other hand, have been performing extremely well and has actually elevated themselves to a mid-table side. They are currently 11th in the AFL ladder. Interesting, that is. Very interesting. I'm very surprised that has happened. But of course, a team like Fremantle, they can get scrappy. They can get down with the best of them. They're very fast. Their forward line seems to be doing extremely well these days, and it could be a very tough fight. Now, this is not a foregone conclusion for the Western Bulldogs. Yes, they are a better team than Fremantle, but will that be enough? Their percentage is very low as well, so they don't score much goals. They don't score a lot, the Western Bulldogs, but in the end, will they have enough to take Fremantle down? Fremantle will give everything for this game because they want to make sure that they leave a mark on the ladder and honestly give themselves a reason to actually continue playing for the rest of the season. I'm sure they'd love to impact the ladder, but at the end of the day, this is a must-win game for Western Bulldogs, and in a must-win game in a very tough situation towards the end of the season as well, which is where their chemistry lies. I cannot go against the Western Bulldogs. This has been a proven fact that at the end of the season, towards the end of the season, the later half of the season, the Western Bulldogs get in their stride and get miraculous wins that no one expects them to get. They did this season against the West Coast Eagles, and they have actually put themselves in a very good position. Just for them to lose it just like that, I don't see that happening. I think they need to win, and I do think they will win. They've done well and truly enough to make and earn their position in the 8, and I do think they will get a hold of it, and they will grab it, and they will not let it go. And if they do, I feel very sorry for them because I do think they deserve to make the 8. A lot more than Gold Coast, a lot more than GWS, and of course Melbourne. I do think they deserve it a little bit more because they've not really choked it. But in the end, it is what it is. Last but not least, we've got Collingwood and Port Adelaide. Collingwood, again, a huge congratulations to them. I might not be the biggest fan of Collingwood, but they've earned a lot of respect for actually overcoming all the obstacles and actually picking themselves up and putting them in a position to succeed, as they are pretty much guaranteed to stay in the 8 and give themselves a chance to actually compete at the highest level of the AFL. Port Adelaide are clearly one of the best teams in the AFL. I can't believe my prediction of top 4 for Port Adelaide was actually correct. I thought they'd be a sleeper pick, and they end up being very high up there, man. So congratulations to Port Adelaide. I am going to back Port Adelaide in this game. Again, Collingwood are not at full fitness, not at full health. Still players missing. There's a lot of things that can go wrong for Collingwood, but I do think that they have performed well enough to give Port Adelaide a run for their money. In the end, if they win or lose, I'm sure they'll be happy and stoked to know that they will be in the 8 and they'll be playing finals footy, and that's the goal for every team. Obviously, Collingwood had bigger ambitions towards the start of the season. They were predicted to be in the top 4 and fighting for the premiership. Of course, things have changed. Injuries have happened. An absolute nightmare for Collingwood and their fans and their club, to be honest. This season has been an absolute nightmare for them. A lot of Collingwood fans have lost their faith, but in the end, it's a fighting chance, and I think that's all you can ask for from such a nightmare of a season. They have the chance. And overall, for this game specifically, Port Adelaide, I think, will win. And let's see where that goes towards their finals hopes of their season. In the end, that is the final round of the AFL. All the questions that have been asked will be answered in this game, in this round. Will the Western Bulldogs choke their last game? Will Melbourne end up making the top 8 after really giving it up? Will the Giants, after an extremely underwhelming season, find their way back in the finals and maybe get some form under their belts? Of course, all these questions and more will St Kilda have an absolute mare of a game and drop out of the top 8. In the end, there are so many things that can happen, and of course, the toughest answers, the toughest questions will require the toughest answers. And let's see exactly who is going to be in that top 8 when it's all said and done. It could very well stay the same, but it could definitely change as well. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the Aidan Sports YouTube channel. Turn notifications on. How well did I do? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know your opinions on the AFL predictions video, the AFL tips video, and of course, we'll be talking about all the AFL teams in an AFL ladder reacting to where I put them on the ladder and reacting to how well they actually performed. I'm really looking forward to that video, so please stay tuned for that if you are interested. Of course, we'll be talking about the finals as well. We'll be doing finals predictions, finals results. You know the deal, man. It's been happening all season, and it's not going to stop now. Until the end of the season, keep your eyes on more AFL videos right here. Take care, and peace.